Though Indian civilization is discussed along with other ancient civilizations of the world, like the Sumerian, Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek civilizations, it could be much older than the rest. Presently, the Indian civilization is considered 5000 years old, and its origin is explained linked with the Indo-Aryan migration. Discovery of several newer archaeological sites suggests that this civilization is at least 10,000 years old. It is also possible that the Indian civilization played the role of a mother in the origin of other ancient civilizations. AMH, or anatomically modern humans, scientifically known as Homo sapiens sapiens, originated in Africa about 2 lakh years ago. They arrived in India tentatively 65,000 years ago. The presence of a large number of dark complexion tribes in India suggests the continuous survival of AMH here. Though AMH reached Europe and Northern Asia during every interglacial period, they could not survive there during the severe weather of glacial maximum and became extinct. Present population has reached there from India during the last interglacial period, 10,000 years ago. During glacial period, a huge coastal landmass surfaces between the Bengal and Myanmar coast. At this time, the population of two distinct genetic territories, the Bengal coast and Southeast Asia, intermix, producing newer genetic identities like R1 alpha and R1 bravo haplogroup in Y chromosome. As the seawater gradually rises during the interglacial period, this coastal landmass submerges, displacing the settled population. They settled on the Bengal coast and adopted various animal symbols as their ethnic identity. The naga, tiger, lion, elephant, fish, turtle, avian, primate, each animal symbol seen at various archaeological sites represented an Indian origin human fraternity. They eventually migrated following the Trans-Himalayan migration routes which bifurcated from Mount Kailash. About 10,000 years ago, R1 Bravo fraternity descended from Kailash and followed the Makran coast to reach Africa, where the Egyptian civilization developed. The Indus Valley civilization emerged on this route. Similarly, about 5,800 years ago, R1 Alpha fraternity migrated to Europe along with the spoken Sanskrit language. The migration path of the Bagh fraternity can be traced from Bagdogra in North Bengal, ascending along the Bagmati river and reaching the Baglung Kali temple in Nepal, and finally Baghdad in Mesopotamia across Mount Kailash. A number of localities named after Bagh in Afghanistan, like Baglan, Bagram. Baghdad is located on river Tigris, which also means Bagh in Bengali. Koch or the turtle fraternity migration path can be established from Bengal and Assam along river Jamuna of Bangladesh to reach Kailash. Incidentally, turtle is the Vahana of Jamuna, suggesting its migration along the river. As one descends along Indus from Kailash, one reaches Kutch of Gujarat and Kutchi district of Balochistan. Following the Persian Gulf, one reaches the territory of Kassites in Mesopotamia, and finally the Koch fraternity emerges as Kushites in the Horn of Africa. It is possible that the Caspian Sea and Caucasus Mountains were so named as they were Koch fraternity settlements. It is likely that a matriarchal culture evolved on the Bengal coast at a very early date. During this period, goddesses became popular. Kali is known as Adi Shakti or primordial energy. It is likely that goddesses like Kali, Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Monasha, which are extremely popular in Bengal, emerged during a matriarchal period when women were considered as the depository of knowledge, wealth and power. As the matriarchal community spread to Egypt, we find emergence of goddesses like Nat, Hathor and Isis in Egypt. Lieutenant Wilford, a British officer, wrote an article in the Asiatic Researches in 1794 where he established that the Nile River was known as the Kali River, and this is mentioned in the Padma Puran and Skanda Puran. Similarly, in Greece, Athena was very popular at the early stage of the establishment of the European civilization. Athens, the ancient city of Greece, derived its name from Athena, like Kolkata deriving its name from Kali. The Sphinx of Alexandria in Egypt guarding Pompeii's pillar complex appeared to me very similar to Durga, who is inseparably associated with the lion. In fact, Lieutenant Wilford mentioned in his article that the Sphinx name originated from the word Singhik, meaning Singho-like or associated with lion. I was overjoyed to read that Sphinx was associated with the word Shinghu. Shingo is a typical Bengali word meaning lion. I was equally thrilled when I went to the Philae temple in Aswan in Egypt. I found typical brachycephalic faces and slanting eyes of Isis created on the temple pillars, remarkably similar to the faces of the deities of Bengal. On top of almost every pillar, lotus images have been sculpted, when lotus is not a natural flower of Egypt. Moreover, Isis is shown with a yellow complexion, very similar to Lakshmi or Sri of Bengal. At the entrance of the Edfu temple, a large image of falcon is bound to attract the attention of Indians. This mythical eagle is the associate of Horus in Egypt. Our Hori or Vishnu also has a strikingly similar mythical eagle popularly known as Gorur as his Vahan. I wonder if Hori has manifested as Horus in Egypt, Ashur manifesting as Osiris and Sri as Isis. Interestingly, like our Ashur, Osiris is also green complexioned, a rather unusual color of the skin. The relative position of Nut and Jeb, two early deities of the Egyptian pantheon, appear to have a similarity with the composite image of Kali and Shiva of Bengal. Here, the deity Nut is placed over her consort Jeb, who lies on the ground like Shiva in Bengal. The names Jeb and Shiv are phonetically quite similar. Moreover, Nut is studded with stars and one of the manifestations of Kali is Tara, meaning stars. Kali is associated with the crematorium in India and Nut with the burial sites in Egypt. Interestingly, Nut and Jeb have two sons and two daughters very similar to Shiva and Durga of Bengal. In the second half of my book, I have discussed the evidences of reverse migration of the Indian origin fraternities from Egypt by different routes in different periods. The land route reverse migration took place along the Uttarapath and the Indus Valley civilization. We find the emergence of the reverse migration animal symbols like the lion, horse, boar and peacock along the Uttarapath. They are found all over the subcontinent, especially in the Indian Himalayas, Nepal, Bhutan, Tibetan Plateau, Bengal and Northeast India. A number of evidences identify the onward and reverse migration routes. I have seen two owners of a shop in Pokhara, Nepal. One was short with brachycephalic features, which is a typical feature of indigenous Indians, while the other was not only tall but had oligocephalic face, which is a typical feature of some regions of Europe. I have also seen Kali in Kamalasagar temple of Tripura draped in a white sari, suggesting her reverse migration nature. Over a period, the sea route reverse migration from the Red Sea region got established and extended to the Bay of Bengal as they were keen to reach the matriarchal territories of Gangaridhi. The Prakrita-speaking fraternities returned back to Bengal at this stage. As the Bengali-speaking reverse migration fraternities settled in Bangladesh, their Bengali dialects were different. I realized that the reverse migration fraternities had settled in the Northeast India since a very early period. During the land route migration period, they had come through Uttarapath along river Brahmaputra from Kailash. Many of them had settled in the higher reaches of the Himalayas like Monpas of Tawang, while some others descended to the Brahmaputra valley. The reverse migration fraternities from the Red Sea arrived later who settled in the region using two different routes. One fraternity from the Bay of Bengal ascended along the rivers of Bangladesh to settle in Assam and Tripura. Thus we find ancient Greek art, popularly known as Hellenistic art, in the 6th century Dahaparvatiya temple of Tejpur. In Koilashahar, Tripura, we find unusual huge rock-cut images of Shiva in the Unakoti complex. The other group entered the Northeast Indian states from the east as they ascended along the river Iravati and Chinvi. The Ahoms reached along this route in the 13th century. The ancestral memorial of Ahoms in Choraidao are known as Maidems, which are miniature replica of the pyramids of Egypt. In fact, the oldest Egyptian pyramids were also known as Maidems. The Hebrew name of Egypt is Mirzaim. Mizos had been given visa by Israel as they were considered to be one of the lost tribes of Israel. One of the oldest Egyptian documents, Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, compiled at the beginning of the Christian era, mentions about the connectivity of the Red Sea and this region. There is a need to arrange the pre-recorded period of India based on available ground evidences. In that direction, I intend to start a discussion on several issues which need serious attention.